Hi guys, my name is Abby, and today I'd like to talk to you about feminist theory in film and more specifically in An American in Paris. Now, feminism is the fight for gender equality. The main things I'd like to talk about in regards to feminist theory is patriarchal views and gender roles and stereotypes, which are both things that we see in An American in Paris. Now, one of the first things we all learn in this class is that film manipulates. So the people making the film get to set the standards for women and men, and this goes for all forms of media. And they do it in a way where it may not be blatantly obvious, but when you take a step back from the overall plot and the excitement of the film and start to focus on how men and women are perceived, the roles they take on, the power structures, you start to uncover almost these subliminal messages on how men and women should act. And those standards that they're setting are, like I said, how they should act, how they should look too, how their roles in society, their sexuality, the jobs that they have, the list goes on. So before watching An American in Paris, I made assumptions based on the time period it came out of, which was the early 1950s. This is a time where the majority of people are way behind us when it comes to feminism. Before I even started the movie, I set certain expectations about the gender roles during this time. My mind immediately thought of the 1950s, like suburban housewife. The role was, to be a mother or take care of the house, and they had to look good while doing it, which is a standard that we can still see today. Their husbands, these women's husbands, have complete control on how they live their lives. These women are reliant on the men in their lives, both economically and socially, which is still something you can see today. So even if the women do have a job, they're not making a lot of money, and the jobs that they do have are seen as, feminine jobs, which are jobs that are still kind of seen as feminine today, like teacher or nurse especially, or a caregiver, or someone who works in retail selling, purses or makeup or jewelry or clothing, all feminine jobs. So I thought about the roles that women have during this time, and men. And I also thought about the sexualization and objectification of women in films and how many films cater towards the male gaze. So when watching An American in Paris, the main things I focused on in terms of feminist theory was, like I said, the roles women were taking on, and more specifically, the juxtaposition of the female leads, Lisa and Milo, and how these women in the film establishes what is desirable or attractive in a woman and what is not. So I guess what I'm getting at is women in film and men in film and in other forms of media set the standards for how men and women should be. So I think I'd like to talk about Lisa first. From the beginning, she is seen as the perfect woman and very desirable, which we know because two men in the film are both in love with her. Lisa is young, she's beautiful, and like I said, in the first 15 minutes of the film, she's made out to be the perfect woman. In the dance montage, you see kind of everything a woman should be. Shy but exciting, provocative and attractive but modest. And even though she's modest, she's still modern. The way they talk about her makes the female audience want what she has. And this scene, and Lisa in general, sets the standards for women, and these standards or expectations are set very high. On the other hand, we have Milo, who is, the undesirable one because of her more domineering or masculine traits. Even her name Milo is masculine. Milo is ambitious. She has money, which, of course isn't her own. It's her father's, because if it was her own, that'd be pushing a little bit too much for the time. So when comparing Lisa to Milo, Milo is older, she's already been married, and she's independent. Something else that's different between the two is the relationships between them and Jerry. When Jerry meets Milo, Milo is the one that has to chase after Jerry. But when Jerry meets Lisa, he's the one chasing after Lisa, which is another, kind of standard that we see today. Men are the ones that are supposed to chase after women. Now, the relationship between Jerry and Milo is criticized over and over again in the film because Milo is the one that is helping Jerry with the power that she holds. Her power coming from, her money or her father's money, as well as her connections. This leads Milo to being, being seen as the man in the relationship. Jerry's friends make comments on them saying things like, if you two get married, are you going to keep your maiden name? He also says something like, she acts like a man but wants to be treated like a woman. And Jerry does not want Milo because of these reasons and the traits she possesses, and instead wants Lisa. And this is what is manipulating the audience. It's manipulating the audience into believing that traits like ambition, power, independence, all things that Milo have that are seen as normally attractive on men are unattractive on women, which leads women into not wanting or aspiring to have power that would make them more equal to men. Instead, it makes them aspire to be more like Lisa, and Lisa is the one that caters towards the male gaze. So this is what is reestablishing patriarchal views that men should be the ones with power. In the beginning, I brought up that feminism is the equality between all genders, but I've only been talking about inequality of women thus far. So even though women don't possess all the same privileges as men, it's really all genders that are trapped into certain roles and expectations. In this film, we see how men are the ones that have to chase after the girl. They're the ones that have to provide for their significant other. And if they go against this, they're made fun of or criticized like Jerry is throughout the film because of, the relationship or the role reversing relationship he has with Milo. So just to kind of sum everything up, film and even all media plays a part in reinforcing gender roles and patriarchal views, which not only holds back the equality between men and women, but manipulates all people, regardless of gender, into fulfilling certain roles and expectations. So that was a lot, but I hope that you guys have learned something new or was able to expand your thinking about feminist theory in this film and future films by, hearing me rant a little bit. So thank you all for watching and have a great rest of, your year.